Ethan Cole had everything money could buy, mansions that echoed with silence, luxury cars he rarely drove, and a corner office that overlooked the city skyline. Yet, every evening when the world went home to families, he returned to an empty penthouse, greeted only by the hum of loneliness. It was on one of those nights, rain tapping against the cafe windows, that Ethan sat alone, pushing half-eaten pasta around his plate. He wasn't really hungry, he just hated eating at home where the silence pressed too hard. Then it happened. A small, timid voice broke through the clinking dishes and low chatter. "Sir, may we have your leftovers?" Ethan looked up, startled. Two little girls stood by his table, twins, no older than 7. Their clothes were clean but worn, their shoes slightly scuffed. But it wasn't their voices that pierced his heart, it was their eyes. Bright, gentle, but heavy with hunger. Eyes he hadn't seen in years, eyes that looked just like his late sister's. For a moment, he froze. He was a CEO worth billions, and yet 2 hungry children were asking him for scraps. Slowly, he pushed the plate toward them. But as their little hands reached out, something inside him rebelled. "Wait," he said, his voice firmer than he intended. The girls flinched. Ethan softened immediately. "Not leftovers. Let me buy you dinner. Real dinner." Their faces lit up, hesitant, as if they weren't sure they were allowed such kindness. He ordered them warm soup, fresh bread, and pasta just like his. As they ate, Ethan noticed how they tried to share every bite equally, pausing to make sure the other had the same. "Where are your parents?" he asked gently. The twins exchanged a look. Finally, one whispered, "Mom's sick. Dad's gone." Ethan's chest tightened. Their story spilled out, how their mother had been working 2 jobs until illness kept her bedridden, how rent was overdue, how sometimes they survived on bread from a corner bakery that took pity on them. And then came the twist that nearly broke him. The girls told him their mother's name. Grace Carter. Ethan's breath caught. Grace wasn't just anyone, she had been his college sweetheart. The one he left behind when ambition consumed him. The one he never stopped thinking about but never had the courage to call again. Suddenly, everything made sense. The eyes. The way they reminded him of someone he had loved deeply, once upon a time. These weren't just any little girls, they were her daughters. He excused himself, hands trembling, and paid the bill. But he didn't just cover dinner, he settled their outstanding rent with the cafe owner, who knew the family. He bought groceries. And most importantly, he asked the girls to take him to their mother. When Grace opened the door of the small apartment, frail but still carrying the quiet beauty he remembered, her eyes widened. "Ethan?" For a moment, neither spoke. Years of regret and unspoken words hung in the air. Finally, Ethan said softly, "I should have been here. For you. For them." Grace, tears brimming, whispered, "Why now?" He glanced at the twins, who clung to each other, watching silently. "Because tonight, 2 angels reminded me what truly matters. And I don't want to waste another second chasing things that never filled the emptiness." In that tiny apartment, surrounded by peeling wallpaper and worn furniture, Ethan felt more alive than in any boardroom or penthouse. The following weeks became a turning point. Ethan arranged medical care for Grace, enrolled the twins in a good school, and visited them daily. He started laughing again, cooking with the girls, reading bedtime stories he never knew he'd enjoy. And somewhere along the way, his loneliness melted, not because of wealth or success, but because he had finally opened his heart to love, family, and purpose. One evening, the twins hugged him tightly and said, "Thank you for not giving us leftovers, thank you for giving us you." Tears slipped down Ethan's face. For the first time in years, they weren't tears of regret, they were tears of home. Sparkle's final message. Sometimes, the greatest wealth isn't measured in dollars or power. It's in the simple acts of kindness, the people we choose to love, and the family we build when we open our hearts. Ethan had spent a lifetime chasing everything, only to realize that the only thing he truly needed was sitting right across the table, asking, "May we have your leftovers?" But instead of leftovers, he gave them a future.